This episode of After the Quiet contains personal experiences and discussions related to emotional abuse, coercive control, identity, group dynamics, intimidation, and relationship trauma. Some content may be distressing or triggering for listeners. Hi, and welcome back to After the Quiet. This is episode 74. Today's episode is about the motorcycle club. More specifically, the day he was officially patched in. If you've listened to previous episodes, you've heard me talk about how much time he spent with the motorcycle club. What started as a hobby eventually became a major part of his life. There were meetings, events, mandatory appearances, weekends away. The club always seemed to come first. And after more than a year of proving himself as a prospect, he finally got the news he had been waiting for. He was getting patched in. To say he was excited would be an understatement. This was a huge deal to him. It represented status, recognition, acceptance. He had worked toward this for a long time. There was going to be an official ceremony at the clubhouse, a celebration afterwards, and of course, I was expected to attend. So I went. His cousin was being patched in as well, so the three of us headed to the clubhouse together. I had no idea what to expect. Honestly, I assumed it would be a bunch of motorcycle enthusiasts celebrating together. Maybe some speeches, some food, some drinks. What I walked into felt completely foreign to me. The moment we arrived, I wasn't introduced as myself. I wasn't introduced as a teacher, a mother, a person. I was introduced as his wife. That might not sound unusual, but there was something about the way it was done that made me uncomfortable. It felt less like an introduction and more like a designation. Like my identity had been reduced to my relationship with him. Then came a conversation that completely caught me off guard. Someone started explaining that now that he was a patched member, I would be able to wear a clothing that said "property of," followed by his name and the motorcycles club name. I remember thinking they were joking. They weren't. Apparently, as the wife of a member, this was considered normal. The explanation is that it showed who you belonged to. Belonged. Even now, that word makes me cringe. I immediately said there was absolutely no way I would ever wear a shirt that said property of anyone. I wasn't property. I was a person. The conversation became awkward very quickly, but I wasn't finished being surprised. I was also informed that, as the wife of a patched member, I would be expected to contribute to club events, specifically food. The wives apparently helped organize meals, potlucks, and gatherings. Again, I laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was so far removed from reality. I told them I didn't even cook for large gatherings of my own family and friends. If we hosted a party, I ordered food. That wasn't changing. Some people laughed, others didn't seem impressed. Then someone tried to reassure me about the shirt. They explained that wearing it would prevent other members from hitting on me. At first, I thought that sounded ridiculous. Then I looked around the room, and suddenly I understood exactly what that meant. There were women there who seemed to move from one man to another throughout the evening. As people walked through the room, there was touching, grabbing, and behavior that felt incredibly uncomfortable to witness. Meanwhile, the women wearing the property of shirts were left alone. It felt less like respect and more like ownership. And the entire thing made my skin crawl. Eventually, the ceremony began. He and his cousin received their patches. Everyone applauded, people celebrated, photos were taken. And I sat quietly at a table, waiting for it to be over. I wasn't excited. I wasn't impressed. I was uncomfortable. Deeply uncomfortable. The entire environment felt wrong to me. Not because people rode motorcycles, not because they enjoyed a hobby, but because everything seemed built around hierarchy, status, and control. When we finally got home, I was honest. I told him I wanted nothing to do with it. I told him I would never wear the shirt. I told him I didn't feel comfortable around those people. And I told him that I would never become involved in the club culture. He immediately pushed back. He insisted they were all great people. He told me I was judging them unfairly. He assured me everything would be fine. But I couldn't shake the feeling I had. Something felt off. And for once, my instincts were right. After he was patched in, things changed. As a prospect, there were certain meetings he wasn't allowed to attend. Certain conversations he wasn't included in. Now he was being invited behind closed doors. Now he was attending meetings that prospects weren't allowed to see. And over time, I started noticing a change in him. The excitement faded, the enthusiasm faded, the confidence faded. Eventually, he admitted something surprising. He told me I had been right. He told me the club wasn't what he thought it was. According to him, there were expectations being placed on members that made him uncomfortable. He told me there were things being discussed and requests that crossed the lines for him. For the first time, I heard doubt in his voice. He admitted that many of the other members had very different circumstances than he did. He had a business, a wife, 3 children, a mortgage, responsibilities. He said many of the other men had far less to lose. And for the first time, I think he realized just how much he had at stake. What happened next still surprises me, because as quickly as he had been welcomed in, it was over. One day, someone arrived at our door, and they wanted everything back. The patches, the shirts, the club merchandise, anything that carried the club's name. Even the custom fire pit he had proudly installed in our backyard had to go. At that time, all I was thinking was, all that time, all that energy, all those weekends, all those meetings, gone. Just like that. To this day, I don't know exactly what happened behind those closed doors. And honestly, I don't need to know. What I do know is that the same instincts that made me uncomfortable the first night I walked into that clubhouse turned out to be right. I saw warning signs before he did. I saw a culture that didn't align with my values. I saw expectations that made me deeply uncomfortable. And despite all the pressure to simply go along with it, I never did. For one of the few times in my marriage, I trusted my gut. And looking back now, I'm glad I did. Thanks for listening to After the Quiet. Please remember to subscribe to this podcast and share it with others who might need to hear my story. And also join me on Instagram at after.the.quiet. If you recognize parts of my story in your own, please reach out to someone who can give you support, or look for that support in your community. You are not weak for needing help. You are human. Your voice deserves to be heard.